In the 1950s, Theodor Adorno, a philosopher who had escaped Nazi Germany and came to the US, stated that the most dangerous man in the world was Walter Elias Disney. Why? Because Walt Disney was taking something that was incredibly appealing to the human heart and simplifying it for profit. The human heart yearns for romance, and Disney gave it to us in a form that was easy, sanitized, and safe. A love without suffering, a beauty without depth. He took the idea of romance and sold it as a mere product to consume. And fast forward 50 years, we are living in the effects of it. People want romance without the work, love without sacrifice. We call it limerence, this infatuation divorced from reality. And people now despise the simple things of life, the daily grind. But the simple things of life, that's where true romance lies. That's where true beauty ever sleeps. That's where God's will is ever present. In our first reading, Naaman is healed and grateful. But before that, it wasn't so simple. Because you see, Naaman was the top general in the Syrian army. He was well known for victories on the battlefield, and outside the battlefield, he was held in such high esteem. He had everything going for him, except he had leprosy, which basically meant he had a death sentence. And all his power, all his success, all his honor could not do a thing to help him. He was cut off from the world. And all he could do was wait until death claimed him. Now Naaman, he had a servant girl in his household, a young girl that he had actually kidnapped from Israel during a military raid. And this Jewish servant girl told him, "In my homeland, we have a holy man who could heal you." So Naaman was like, "Great, doing this." So he gets together his retinue and all his people. They travel to Israel to go see the king. And the king of Israel looks out and he sees this great war general coming to him, and he freaks out. And the Naaman arrives and tells him, "I'm here to be healed of leprosy." And the king freaks out again, saying, "I can't do that. Are you here to start a fight?" And while the king was freaking out, Elisha sends a message saying, "Don't worry about it, king. Send it my way. I'll take care of it." And as Naaman is journeying to Elisha's place, Elisha sends out a messenger to tell Naaman, "If you bathe 7 times in the Jordan River, you will be cured." And when the messenger delivers this message, Naaman is furious. First, Elisha's too busy to come see him when he traveled hundreds of miles to be here. And second, he says, "Back home, we have amazing crystal clear rivers and lakes. And you want me to go in this dumb backwater creek?" The Jordan River is actually sort of gross. It's small, it's muddy, it's not very impressive. That yes, Christ got baptized there. It's still a dumb river. And Naaman is like, what would this even do? What use is it? It's just too ordinary and simple. I traveled all this way looking for something extraordinary, something perfect, and this is not it. I reject this. I refuse to do this simple thing. Naaman wanted something extraordinary, but God gave him something ordinary, and he didn't like it. This mentality affects so many of us here. Thanks to Disney and the culture, we all have limerence. We're all captivated by the idea that transformation can only happen in big moments all at once. And if we don't have those big moments, we don't seek transformation. Because everyone wants to be healed. Everyone wants to have that happiness. Everyone wants to have meaningful relationships with God, friends, future spouse. But our expectations for that path is from the culture, where ordinary means bad. Ordinary means nothing. Ordinary is an insult. If I say you look ordinary, you aren't pleased. So when we encounter ordinary life, we reject it in favor of some mythical, idealized realm. And Naaman is ready to leave and go home and just die. Until a servant tells him, if Elisha asked you to do something crazy, you would have done it. If he had said, hey, go climb the mountain on your knees and then eat a red flower, you would have done it. So man, just do this thing. And Naaman relents and does this simple action, and his skin is renewed and he is healed. And that's where we find him today, a changed man in both skin and heart. And the response to a meaningful encounter, he wants to give a gift and wants to take something with him. I want to leave a part of me here and take a part of the experience with me to my home. Think of souvenirs. Think of people who scratch their names into trees. Think of those silly selfies that we always want to take. It's a way to commemorate this moment. That yes, it was ordinary. But ordinary, when seen through the eyes of grace, become the most important thing in the world and worth remembering. Because as you move forward in life, the moments that you'll remember aren't going to be the extraordinary moments. It will be the simple moments. You'll be sitting around studying together, watching movies in the dorms, just walking to mass in the snow. Those ordinary moments, that's what's most important. But the question, do we see these moments? Do we appreciate them? In our gospel, Christ speaks to 10 lepers and sends them forth to be healed, but only one recognizes when it happens. Not at the end goal, the temple, but rather along the way, in the ordinary action of just walking. And he recognized the most important thing, which was not the healing, because that fades away. All those healed by Christ, they all died. What was important was that what remains, the encounter with Christ, talking to him, knowing him, loving him, and not just taking your healing and going your own way, but returning to give thanks and relive that blessed ordinary moment. Because that ordinary action of giving thanks, of being grateful, is one of the most powerful actions in our lives. It transforms every moment into a moment of grace. It's what fulfills our hearts and heals us. Going through the motions is not a bad thing. It means you're doing what you ought to do. That's good. That's most of life. Eating food together, hanging out together, walking together, just going through the motions together. But you ought to be able to see the deeper meaning, the deeper purpose. That we aren't just called to go through the motions, but we're called to grow through the motions. Seeing how it's through the ordinary aspects of life that we come to find wholeness and healing. For this week, I have 2 tips about how to appreciate the ordinary aspects of life. Tip 1, if you only had today what you were grateful for yesterday, what would you have? If you only had today what you were grateful for yesterday, what would you have? Because in our lives, we are so blessed. We're in America. That's awesome. We have our Catholic faith. That's awesome. We have food, water, shelter. All awesome. We have so many blessings, but we don't see them. If we don't see them, then we don't feel them, and we become unhappy. This is the problem in marriages, that your beloved becomes like furniture. Now, people like furniture. People need furniture. But people don't see furniture. And when people don't feel seen, they don't feel loved, and problems arise. So this week, focus on seeing those good things in life. Spend time each day in intentional gratitude. If you only had today what you were thankful for yesterday, what would you have? Tip 2. In the first reading, Naaman asks for 2 mule loads of dirt to take with him, to remember this encounter with the healing power of the Lord. In that time, people thought gods were attached to land. So he wanted to worship the God of Israel, thus he needed to have the dirt of Israel. But this idea of taking the holy into your normal space, it's a way to remember the encounter and renew the encounter. So in your house, in your dorms, you have holy objects, reminders of an encounter with Christ, reminders that you're surrounded by the angels and the saints and the family of God, that the Holy Land is not far away, but here in the ordinary parts of life. Do you have reminders of how your everyday life is holy? Today's the feast day of our newest saint, St. Carlo Acutis. And there are people out there who don't like that he's a saint. Why? Because he didn't do anything great. He didn't do any great miracles. He didn't consecrate his life as a religious. He didn't really do anything great. He just went to daily mass, prayed a rosary every day, made a website about the Eucharist. It's all just so ordinary, it's almost offensive. But that's where we find God's will, by taking these ordinary moments and refusing to let them become empty moments, but entering into the daily will of God and letting God work through my life. That's how we become saints. That's how we find peace and joy and happiness in our life. May God give us the grace to see how he's present in this moment, and may we learn to love the ordinary moments of life. God bless.